Russian tanks are vanishing from the battlefield, but not because they're outdated, not because they've been retired, they're disappearing because they're being hunted. The steel beasts that once defined modern warfare, symbols of unstoppable power, have become prey. FPV drones, small enough to fit inside a backpack and cheap enough to buy online, have turned the front lines into graveyards of iron. In this video, we're going to uncover how Russia's once feared tanks have gone from being war-winning juggernauts to lumbering death traps, and what this stunning collapse tells us about the death of an era in modern warfare and the wars of tomorrow. So stick around till the end, because the story of how tanks are dying is also the story of how war itself is being rewritten before our eyes. Chapter 1. The Tank Apocalypse. By mid-2025, Ukraine's General Staff estimated that 9,760 Russian tanks had been destroyed. Meanwhile, independent monitors like Oryx, which only count visually verified losses, confirmed around 3,690 tanks. Now, whichever number you believe, one fact is undeniable. Russia has lost thousands of tanks at a rate of about one every single day since the war began. Let's put that into perspective. At the start of 2022, Russia was believed to have around 17,500 tanks in total, ranging from modern T-90s and T-80s, all the way down to Cold War relics like the T-62. And even the T-55. If Ukraine's higher estimate is accurate, Russia has lost over half its tanks. If you go with the conservative Oryx numbers, Russia has still lost around 20% of its arsenal in just 1,000 days. Either way, it's catastrophic. Chapter 2. Russia's desperate gamble. Russia's military industry simply cannot keep up. Factories are still rolling out tanks like the T-90M ProRave and the upgraded T-72BM. But production is a trickle compared to losses. In 2022, Russia managed to refurbish or produce about 1,500 tanks. In 2024, that number dropped to 600. And in 2025, the projection is only 400, covering barely 30% of battlefield losses. So what's the Kremlin doing? They're raiding their graveyards. Old tanks, some designed in the 1960s and 70s, are being dragged out of storage, hastily refurbished, painted, and thrown back into combat. Take the so-called new T-80 BVM. Delivered in June 2025, it looked impressive on paper. Better gun, better engine, better armor. But here's the truth. This wasn't a brand new tank. It was a refitted version of the T-80B from 1976, a 50-year-old machine patched up and sent into one of the deadliest wars of the 21st century. This is how desperate Russia has become. Chapter 3. The Rise of the Drone. So what exactly killed the tank? At the beginning of the war, tanks were still decisive. Russia rolled into Ukraine with 2,000 tanks, spearheading its invasion. Ukraine countered with its own fleet of T-64s. The result? Classic tank battles, armor versus armor, supported by artillery, mines, and anti-tank missiles. But then the battlefield evolved. By late 2022, both sides, especially Ukraine, began weaponizing something far cheaper, far deadlier, and far more versatile than a tank: the FPV drone. For a few $100s, you can now build a flying bomb guided directly into enemy armor. The tanks never stood a chance. Here's why: tanks are heavily armored at the front, but from above, they're almost naked. Take the U.S. Moan Abrams, widely considered the world's best tank. Its frontal armor equals 1,000 millimeters of steel protection, but on top, just 25 millimeters. That's all a drone needs. A $500 quad car carrying a grenade can destroy a $10 million Abrams, and that's exactly what happened. By mid-2024, Ukraine had withdrawn its Abrams from the front lines after multiple were destroyed by drones. By 2025, Russia claimed almost all of Ukraine's Abrams were out of action. The same fate befell Germany's Leopard tanks. By late 2024, more than half were destroyed. If these tanks, symbols of Western engineering, couldn't survive, what hope did Russia's outdated fleet have? Chapter 4. The FPV kill zones. This is where the war changed forever. Enter the concept of kill zones. Imagine an area saturated with so many drones that the moment anything moves, whether it's a tank, a truck, or even a soldier stepping outside to relieve himself, dozens of FPV swoop down like vultures. That's the reality in eastern Ukraine today. In these kill zones, tanks are death traps. Columns of armor burn before they can even fire a shot. Both sides now avoid mass tank assaults. Instead, Russian and Ukrainian forces rely on infantry, small vehicles, and artillery, while drones swarm overhead. And it's not just tanks being targeted. Medical evacuations are attacked, leaving wounded soldiers stranded. Infantry trenches are no longer safe as drones dive straight inside. Supply convoys are destroyed in seconds. The battlefield has become a digital hunting ground, where survival depends on how many drones you can launch at once. Chapter 5. Russia's new tactics. So how has Russia adapted? Gone are the days of massive armored spearheads. Now they send tiny groups of infantry, 2 or 3 soldiers at a time, on motorbikes or quad bikes. Yes, it's suicidal. But it forces Ukraine to waste drones on low-value targets and slowly reveals the positions of Ukrainian operators. When Ukraine strikes, Russia responds with artillery, glide bombs, and its own drones. Village by village, they grind forward in what's been nicknamed a painting by numbers. And tanks. They're now cautious tanks. Instead of leading charges, they fire a few shells as artillery support and then retreat into cover. No glory, no thunder, just survival. Even Ukraine has reorganized its tank brigades, reducing tank numbers and boosting mechanized infantry. Tanks are no longer the spearhead. They're the backup. Chapter 6, the death of an era? So does this mean tanks are finished? Not entirely. Tanks are still devastating in areas where drones struggle, like forest or urban combat. And against enemies without drones, they remain kings of the battlefield. But their dominance has been shattered. The age of the unstoppable steel beast is over. The future belongs to whoever masters the skies, not with jets, but with swarms of cheap disposable drones. Already, engineers are scrambling to save the tank. Cope cages, metal grills welded on top to detonate drones before impact. Turtle tanks. Bizarre armored wedges that look like something from Mad Max. Even the zombie tanks. Monsters that reportedly survived dozens of drone hits. These are stopgaps, not solutions. The next generation of tanks will have to be drone-proof by design, with electronic warfare systems and anti-drone defenses built in. Until then, every tank that rolls onto the battlefield is gambling with its life. Ending reflection plus call to action. For a century, tanks defined modern warfare. From World War II to the Gulf War, they were the ultimate symbol of power. But in Ukraine, we are watching that chapter close. The drone has humbled the tank. And the wars of tomorrow will not be won by steel giants, but by swarms of machines buzzing invisibly above the battlefield. The age of the tank isn't completely over, but it's no longer the star of the show. What comes next is uncertain. But one thing is clear. The future of war is airborne, and it's cheaper, deadlier, and faster than anything we've ever seen before. So what do you think? Is the tank truly finished? Or will engineers find a way to bring the steel giants back to dominance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on how technology is rewriting the future of war, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.